So yeah, good morning, welcome. Thanks for being here. Jose mentioned rain and the reprieve that it's bringing. And that's a good kind of segue to what I wanted to talk about today, which is, I'm really recently, the last year or so, I've really been investigating well-being and the role our practice plays in things like joy, peace, healing. Some people say sitting is medicine, feeling good. Because for me, my practice never really was about that. Um, my questioning and my path and kind of what I saw from the Buddha and what inspired me wasn't really so much about feeling good or having any kind of thing like peace or equanimity. Um, I know it's mentioned here and there in certain ways, um, but to me, it was always more about like, what is this joy versus pain thing? What is this sickness versus medicine thing? There's that one koan that I've talked about a few times that starts by saying, sickness and medicine quell each other. Good and bad quell each other. Peace and chaos quell each other. And that to me has always been kind of the hook, the thing I really wanted to investigate. Um, but we're also humans and we go towards what feels good and we want to go away from what feels bad. And of course, that's why we suffer, according to basic Buddhist teaching. We want it one way and we don't want it the other way. Um, so I've really been looking at that, especially as a teacher and like cultivating a community and a lot of people coming here to feel better, have less stress, have more peace. And, I really do believe in the practice of um, going deeper than that. Why want it one way and not the other way? And I think it's really well addressed, and it really kind of helps me to think of, we read together a while ago, we read a book by Zenju Earthlyn Manuel, who is a Soto Zen priest in the San Francisco lineage. And her book is called The Deepest Peace. And it kind of addresses this idea of peace deeper than, beyond, more penetrating than like a feeling of peace, right? The deepest peace can be present in moments of stress. The deepest peace is there in our anger. And it doesn't really have to do with any kind of feeling of peace. And the way she talks about it is just so good. And it also makes me think of there's kind of a long poem or verse that we chant sometimes called the Jewel Mirror Samadhi, or it's known as many things, the Precious Song of the Mirror Samadhi, or something like that, which was written by or accredited to Dongshan Liang Jie. In Chinese or in Japanese, his name is Tozan Ryokai, and he's kind of a major figure, credited with kind of starting the Soto or Chaodong lineage. And one line in this poem, the Jewel Mirror Samadhi, says, "It is not within reach of feelings or consciousness how could it be a matter of deliberation? So I think that's a really important point. This awakening, this enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, it's not a matter of feeling or consciousness. So to come to this practice with a transactional attitude, if I do this and that, and I sit this much, and I do these koans, and I attend the Dharma, and I understand it enough, then I'll feel a certain way. I don't know that it works like that. But to pursue this deepest peace, this deepest joy, this deepest equanimity, deepest harmony, is to really viscerally let go of this dualism of peace versus stress, or joy versus sadness. So to help illustrate this, I actually was inspired by a poem that was read at a wedding that I went to. And this poem is written by David Whyte, who is a British-Irish poet, thinker, philosopher kind of guy. He has no history of Buddhism or Eastern practice, from what I can tell in my internet research. But, you know, we need words and thoughts and ways to kind of conceive of this stuff. And I thought that this poem he wrote called Joy really gets to the heart of this deepest joy that I'm talking about. That is a joy beyond feeling, a joy that isn't the same kind of joy you get from your favorite meal, or from getting the job, or from getting, falling in love, right? All these kind of like feeling joy that we experience in our life. This deepest joy includes everything. Where is this deepest joy when I lose a loved one? Where is this deepest joy when I get rejected and turned down? So I just thought we'd go line by line through this poem. It's just so well written. So, joy is the meeting place of deep intentionality and self-forgetting. Joy is the meeting place of deep intentionality and self-forgetting. This is a question that comes up a lot here at the Zen Center, people I just talked to, which is, how do I maintain drive? How do I have a goal? How do I have a vision or a vow, but also have no attachment to results, right? We talk about that a lot. The effortless effort, the goalless goal, trying to do nothing. And I think this is just a really nice way of illustrating that. Joy is the meeting place of deep intentionality. So having a vision, having a vow, really bringing my whole self to my work and to my vision. So the meeting place of that drive and self-forgetting, right? We know that doing this practice, sitting deeply, working with a teacher, working in a sangha, helps us to forget the self, right? Dogen Zenji's most famous line, to study the self is to forget the self. And so just imagine that is joy, to have a deep intention with your life and do the work to completely take myself out of it. So can I have the goal to get the job, or to build the thing, or to make better relationships, and then take any sense of identification out of it? It has nothing to do with me, just this kind of selfless efforting. And that's joy, right? What a different way of looking at joy. It's not getting things I want, it's bringing deep intention with no sense of self involved, selflessness. The joy we're used to, the joy of getting what we want, is all self based. This feels good to me. I got the promotion. I feel good today. And that's nice. That comes and goes. Excuse me. Um, but this deepest joy is the meeting place of selflessness and deep intention. He goes on, joy is the bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside. So this marriage of myself, what I thought was myself, my thoughts, my needs, my values, my feelings, my sense of self, in communion with what formerly seemed outside. And those of you who are working on koans know that they're a really powerful way of experiencing this union of inside and outside. Right? One way we talk about suffering in Buddhism, we suffer because we separate ourselves. We think that I am a person perceiving things in the world. And in one sense, that's kind of true. But in a really honest, open, connected sense, it's not true at all. Excuse me, I'm kind of getting over a cold here. So I love that, the bodily alchemy. It really gets to the point, right? Because anyone can open up a book and read the book that says, you know, inside and outside are one, and we are one, and there is no separation. But this bodily alchemy, this physical experience, this cellular level experience of melding, totally dropping off, and becoming completely fused with everyone and everything. That's joy. And that includes fires. That includes losing your house. That includes addiction. It's all inclusive, that joy. Oneness with your enemy. Oneness with your anger. Seeing other as myself and myself as other. So yeah, the bodily alchemy of what lies inside us in communion with what formerly seemed outside, but is now neither, but becoming a living frontier, a voice speaking between us and the world. So I love that, living frontier. That's what this practice is about. That's what the koans are about. It's about really expressing that alive, moment to moment fusion of inside and outside. I like that he says that they are now neither inside nor outside, totally dropping off this very notion that there is an inside or outside, an internal self, an external world. Can we really experience the emptiness of all of that? How do we experience it? By living on this very present frontier that is always changing. What a great expression, a living frontier, a voice speaking between us and the world. What is that voice? It's the rain on the yurt roof. It's the hungry belly. It's the reaction you're having right now to what an idiot Chowa is. Why would he say that? That doesn't make any sense. That voice is always talking. Always, 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 always. That voice between us and the world. Joy is the sheer intoxicating beauty of the world, inhabited as an edge between what we previously thought was us and what we thought was other than us. So, kind of saying the same things here, but I just love his language. And I really resonate with this sheer intoxicating beauty of the world. I resonate with that. This deepest joy as an intoxicating beauty of the world. To me, doesn't mean a gorgeous sunset. It doesn't mean people getting along together in harmony. It doesn't mean a clear night sky with thousands of stars. It means all of that and the shit you stepped in on the street and people fighting and homelessness and loss and grief. The sheer intoxicating beauty of everything. Right? And that doesn't mean that we see homelessness or we experience sadness and we say, oh, well, this is great because it's beautiful and everything is Buddha. No, it means that that suckiness is beautiful, intoxicatingly beautiful. That pain is beautiful. To see the beauty in the gorgeous sunset and the littered city street doesn't mean we don't pick up the trash. Doesn't mean we don't try to stop fighting. But I think that when we really get to see the intoxicating beauty of all of the even suffering of our world, then we really know how to address it. It's an interesting exercise. Like when you want to pick up the trash on the street, are you picking it up because it's not beautiful and you want to make it beautiful? Or are you picking it up because even the litter is beautiful and deserves to be treated well? I don't know. It's an interesting question. Joy can be made by practiced, hard-won achievement as much as by an unlooked-for passing act of grace arriving out of nowhere. So, yeah, that applies to the feeling of joy, right? Sometimes we work really, really hard on a project and we finish it and people like it, and that feels like joy. Other times you stumble upon a $20 bill on the street, totally unexpected. But I love the way that this kind of applies to practice and enlightenment, the deepest joy. And there's like millennia of conversation around this in the Buddhist world. Spontaneous enlightenment versus like gradual diligent, lifelong practice. And yeah, his words here in this poem kind of map onto that exactly. Enlightenment can be just a happenstance experience that we all have. I know we've all had it. Seeing something beautiful, hearing some wise words, and just out of nowhere, you weren't even expecting it. And like, wow, I feel totally in communion with the world right now. And that's important, that instantaneous experience, unexplainable, not tied to anything, but also the diligent, meticulous, uh, unending practice and the enlightenment that comes with that. Both are very important. Joy is a measure of our relationship to death and our living with death. That's interesting, huh? We usually think of joy as this life experience and death as this sad experience. But if I'm really intimate with impermanence and am wary, or not wary, but aware of mortality and impermanence, what effect does that have on my joy? Can I be joyful just to get out of bed in the morning? Right? It's interesting. Joy is the act of giving ourselves away before we need to or are asked to. That's beautiful. So, really cultivating this generosity of selflessness. I love that. Those of you who have been here, you know that I really like to talk about or think about or explore sitting in Zazen as social action, as what's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, taking action in the world. And I love that we talk about forgetting the self, dropping away the self, but what about giving the self away? That's a really nice way to think about selflessness. It's an act of generosity to take myself out of it and live selflessly. And to do that before we need to or are asked to. I love that. It's like the koan I always talk about where they say compassion is like reaching for your pillow in the middle of the night. You're not even thinking about it. It's involuntary. It's not something you're trying to do to, assuage something or fix something or respond to something. You just do it. And that's joy. The deepest joy. Just effortless selflessness. So different from the joy we pursue otherwise through things and achievements, pleasurable feelings. So I'm going to save my voice for now and really invite this deepest joy into your life this week and beyond. And see joy as generosity, joy as the meeting place of selflessness and your deepest intention.